Welcome back, everybody. It is day 2 of Championship Week.
Let me out.
Championship Week Video Notebook. I'm your host,
Let
Chad
me out.
Sherwood. John Salika below me. David
Let me
Griggs
out.
locked in the puppet bunker over
Let
there.
let
David
let
Doran
me out,
below
please.
him. We've got a lot to get to in a. The ASUN was really boring today, but the rest of the games were really exciting. Or was it reverse?
The A Sun was excited. The Sun Belt was off the chain, and we had some crazy action in the Horizon League too. I mean, I don't. It was pretty wild all the way around.
Let's start by confirming Griggs is still locked in the puppet bunker. Do not fear. Your friends and family and children are all safe. Griggs, we have
There-
protection for you here also as well, correct?
Yeah. Well, the dogs come in here and crap all over the place.
Well, it's we gave you a bathroom. They're just sharing. Um,
You gave me a pot in the corner.
let's
And
start
I have
things
and I
off.
have been assured that Molly and Sophie have both passed obedience school, so you don't have to worry about them.
Let's start. Now that we are past the end of our Hoops HD report of the season, we do want to start these shows off with a little bit of news and notes about regular season play and anything else that's going on, especially over the course of this first week of championship week, the first week of the 2 weeks of championship week,
Yeah.
where we have regular season going on. So I actually got a brand new scoreboard. We're going to debut right now here. A little screen here. Group by
Whoa.
conference. These are the key
Wow.
games that were played tonight.
Wow.
So a little new scoreboard here real quick. Maybe just run through by conference as it is there. Just a few moments here in the SEC. Ole Miss lost at Georgia. I think that's it for the large chances if they still had any.
Yeah.
Good night.
Uh, yeah, and
At,
Auburn, I assume is blowing out Missouri.
Auburn is blown out Missouri.
Auburn's up.
Not
Yeah.
not quite final as we're recording this, but that
Yeah.
is noted there. Over
Heavy
the eight.
chalk in the ACC.
Well,
Nothing but chalk.
except that Stalika Wake Forest at large chances may be gone as well after a home loss to Georgia Tech
As I
right
say,
before we
nothing
started.
but chalk in the
That
ACC.
is officially a three-alarm fire for the Deacons right here.
Mhm.
That was actually their first home loss this season, and it's at a buzzer against Georgia Tech.
They were
Now
down
you have
22 in that game.
Well, they actually had one lead at the game in the entire game. It was
Yeah.
69-68, and then they still lost on the buzzer beater. So,
With Yeah, and there was Georgia Tech may have gotten away with a walk, which gave them the chance to would set up the final play for
they
them to
did
win
get
the
away with a
game.
walk, but
Yeah, but I still Georgia Tech nowhere near the bubble. You got to be able to beat teams that are nowhere near the bubble if you want to claim you yourself belong inside of it. So, bad loss.
Yeah.
Big East, Providence and St. John's got the road wins that they had to get
Yeah.
tonight. Really good game though, Dorman in the Big Ten, which is that Purdue Illinois game.
Great game. Went right down to the final minute there. Illinois had a little lead there in the second half. They had about a 5-6 point lead with 10 minutes to go. But Purdue is tough as nails, and their guards and Jones, the transfer from the Missouri Valley, is just tough in his defense. He just locks you down. And Illinois couldn't really get off a good shot, I want to say, in the last 3.5 minutes. Purdue hit a big three, and they ended up winning in Assembly Hall in Champaign, and a tough loss for the Illini.
Yeah,
Right.
believe it or not, Purdue, as good as they've been, and they have been phenomenally good. First road win against a likely protected seed, so their resume got even better.
Uh, Slika, you were very happy about what happened in the Big 12, where Cincinnati looked all night like they were going to pick up a nice road win at Oklahoma and get back in discussion. Oklahoma gets the OT win, though.
I was happy with the end result. I wasn't happy with how that game was potentially developing. But granted, I did not watch a second of it because there were other games that we'll be covering later on tonight.
Over the American South, Florida continued to pick up wins. Mountain West games are the two key ones are tipping off just as we record this.
What do you mean
So,
the two key ones? The Front Range one was the key one.
now, Wyoming with a big win over Air Force. Interesting now, Griggs. Wyoming and Colorado State play in the final regular season Front Range game this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Colorado State and Air Force play in the final Front Range game. And Air Force upset of Colorado State will give Wyoming the regular season title now.
yeah, that is pretty remarkable.
A big game coming up. Wyoming has a shot to win it. Colorado State up right now, though.
Mhm.
Dayton won the Arch Baron Cup, and Griggs, the big upset, I threw it up there at the last second in the Mid-American Conference. Akron loses at home to a team that's not even going to be in the MAC tournament.
Yeah, I didn't see much of this game other than the final score. It was just with so much else going on. This was one that I wasn't keeping an eye on. I'm surprised. I don't. I'm gonna have to. You went to me. I'm gonna have to defer to you. What the hell happened at home?
Uh,
The Zips.
what the hell happened was they just played like trash tonight. Honestly,
Yeah.
maybe they didn't really care too much, with getting ready for conference tournament play. But uh, it was not a good showing by Akron tonight by any means.
Mhm.
With that loss,
And also keep in
61-60.
mind Toledo beat Miami, so now you have a first place tie in the MAC.
Yeah, so this could have cost them the 1 seed as well in the MAC tournament. There's still one more day of MAC regular season play, I believe, come Friday, not Saturday, but Friday. That was the key regular season games. There were some others that were not important, so we didn't put them up there. But uh, let's get into the conference terms, and let's start with the conference of the night. It was quarterfinal day in the A-Sun. And let's just go right in order of these four games. Dorman, let me start with you. Eastern Kentucky hosting Jacksonville.
Oh, Lord.
The upset of championship week so far. 1 seed goes down in the quarters. Jacksonville moving on.
Yep, Jacksonville played last night. They beat Kennesaw. Most of us on the show, I think Stalica liked Jacksonville, didn't you, Stalica?
I not in 2024.
Claim it,
Okay.
Sleeka, claim
All
it.
Eastern Kentucky never really got their footing, and Jacksonville was on them all night. Jacksonville started out strong, and you see this once in a while in these tournaments when the team, even though Eastern Kentucky was home, Jacksonville had played the night before, and at the end of the game, yeah, I understand that team might get tired. But in the beginning of the game, in the first half, the nerves are kind of off. You played a conference tournament game. They shook the nerves off. Eastern Kentucky was the team that looked nervous at home, and Jacksonville stayed with them all night, beat them down the stretch. The 1 seed is gone from the A-Sun.
Yeah, Bryce Workman's been a monster for Jacksonville. Another double-double tonight. And Griggs, Jacksonville had their chances in the last moments there and just couldn't capitalize.
You mean
I
Eastern
mean,
Kentucky?
Eastern,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
to recap the final 7 seconds, I don't remember the exact sequence, but we saw a fouled 3-point shooter, not one but two offensive rebounds after missed free throws, and a missed shot at the buzzer that would have tied the game that was essentially a layup. So EKU certainly had their chances. It's sort of a cruel reality. Undefeated at home in conference play all year long. They picked a bad night to have a bad night. The arena was full. I remember turning on the games and it was like, oh, this is as good of the year as it's been. They haven't had an arena that's been full like that, at least not that I've seen. And for them to lose like that and have what really was a good season in like that, and especially when you look at the last 7 seconds of that game, how long is it going to take to get over that? My God, there's no NIT, there's no anything. That's it.
Yep, unless the CBI goes calling and they're interested in going, that's it. But yeah, Dorman, Stetson was the other early game of the 2-7, 2-8 o'clock games. They look good, pretty good against Queens. Although Queens was always within arm's length, but never had enough to get over that hump, I thought.
Exactly right. Every time Queens tried to get it within 4 or 5 or so, Stetson hit a big shot, got a big stop. And the Hatters are going to feel real good about themselves tonight, not only because of the win, but when they see what happened elsewhere around the A-Sun. First of all, they're going to get to be at home the rest of the way if they can play a championship game. So they'll get it on the Hatters' home court. Next, they got the 10-seed Jacksonville because of what the upset we just said. Lipscomb, a lot of people were on Lipscomb. I don't want to ruin it. I know someone else is going to break it down in a minute, but they're gone too. Stetson, the Hatters, really have to be feeling good about the way this broke for them.
Yeah, Stalika, let me throw it over to you for the third game, and let's go to the bottom game of the list there, the Lipscomb North Alabama game, because what a hell of a game that was. And welcome to championship week.
And I think the sad irony for Lipscomb is it was one of their players from the past 3 years that ended up sticking the dagger, and that was
KJ
AJ
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yep. He spent his first 3 years at Lipscomb, transfers to North Alabama, and Griggs beats them on the buzzer beater in an amazing game right after Lipscomb had taken the lead there.
Yeah, the lights have gone out here for a second in the puppet bunker, but remember how we broke down what a wild 7 seconds of the Eastern Kentucky Jacks game was. This was an even crazier last 7 seconds, and if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Lipscomb hit what appeared to be was a game-tying 3 that appeared to send the game to overtime, and then North Alabama comes in, goes the length on the floor in the matter of less than 5 seconds to hit what was the game-winning shot.
Yeah,
you got to go see it. I agree with Griggs there. KJ Johnson hits a flying, running shot from the top of the key and buries it, and the place just went bonkers. It was incredible. Like Chad said, welcome to championship week.
One more game even, and that one went overtime. This was an unbelievable 98 Sun. Stalika, Austin Peay, North Florida game over there. North Florida kept looking like they were going to win this game. Austin Peay just kept fighting back there, though, and they were able to pull down the OT.
Yeah, and it took a 3-pointer just to get the game into overtime, and Austin Peay ends up outlasting the Ospreys here.
Yeah, and
the Ospreys are going to be sick because they had this game they were winning this game for 39 and a half minutes. The Ospreys are going to be nauseous tonight.
Yeah, giving up 37 points to DeMarcus Sharp did not help. That was a hell of an effort, although when you score 101 points, somebody's got to be in the 30s, I think. Austin Peay is a new building. First time they hit the century mark in their new building also in this win tonight. And they had a huge steal there on the final play when North Florida had a chance to tie it at the end of overtime. But they get to play North Alabama on Thursday at home now. I don't think they expect to be at home for the semifinals, but here they are. And heck, if Jacksonville pulls the upset, they could be at home for the championship game even.
Yeah, another great visual that you need to go back and watch. So we had 4 games today. 3 of them, if you missed them, you have to go back and watch the end. Coach Corey Gibson decked out in fatigues, standing on the scoreboard at the end of the game. It was just a beautiful sight.
It was.
Yeah.
Let's go over to a couple other conferences. Let's jump over to the Horizon League next here, where we had the 3 first-round games playing into the quarterfinals here, which featured Purdue Fort Wayne, Robert Morris, and Griggs. This was a game where Purdue Fort Wayne looked like they were going to completely win this game by about 300 points in the first half.
Yeah.
Bobby Moe came all the way back, I think, within 5 in the second half, but then Fort Wayne put their foot down again.
Yeah, and at one point I was just like, well, what a microcosm for Purdue Fort Wayne's season. A fantastic, unbelievably impressive start, followed by a gigantic collapse. Lead going all the way down the 5, as you mentioned, but they did kind of get it together and ended up winning without having to sweat too badly. We'll see what they do at Oakland on Thursday.
Yeah. The other games, Cleveland State really did not have much trouble at all with IUPUI, but Dorman, the Milwaukee-Detroit game, a 30-loss Detroit team, almost won a conference tournament game tonight.
If you didn't know they lost 30 games this year and you didn't see the record, you were just impressed because their effort and their game plan, and they were really focused. And I give this team and the coach a lot of credit because it's easy to, just close up shop, go home, be done with the year, and get to next year. This Detroit Mercy was in the game for 40 minutes. Teams, a lot of people were high on this Milwaukee team going into this Horizon tournament, and that doesn't mean they won't go to the finals or make a nice run. But I give Detroit Mercy. They played their butts off today. They were in the game the whole way. They hit some really nice shots, but Milwaukee outlasted them down the stretch and hit their free throws when they needed to with about 18 seconds. And that was the end of the season for Detroit. But like I said, it was really a tough game back and forth the whole way.
Yeah, shout out to Jaden Stone there. He was the leading scorer in the Horizon League for Detroit. 30 points in tonight's game.
And had they won, we would have gotten yet another Detroit-Oakland game. And the last one was pretty competitive.
Funny, we have a couple of really good rivalry games though coming up here in the quarterfinal. We'll preview these tomorrow night,
Yeah,
but Wright State NKU, Green Bay Milwaukee, even Youngstown Cleveland a little bit. Those are
yeah.
fairly
The
close.
travel partners, they don't
Yeah.
have to go far.
Uh, let's jump over to the Patriot League. Stalika, this was not a very exciting night in the Patriot League.
Well, this was not going to be a night where we were setting up a team like Holy Cross, who had gone from the bottom of the table to a champion several years back. And although Holy Cross did end up getting an early lead against Army West Point, this game never really competitive. But all it's really setting up is a game against Colgate, where Holy Cross is going to be a huge underdog.
I'll throw this out there though. The last time that Holy Cross won an 8-9 game as the 9 seed in the Patriot League tournament was 2016. They then proceeded to win 3 more in a row and go to the NCAA tournament.
All on the road. I think
All
the only
4 straight road wins out of the 9 seed to win this Patriot League tournament in 2016.
Yeah, and I believe that, well, this is a Stalika stat. I believe to date, the only team in college basketball history to win 4 road games to win a conference tournament. Is that
I
right,
would,
guys?
I would have to go to the Kyle Lamb library.
Navy also rolled over Loyola Maryland. They'll get BU coming up on Thursday night. But let's just jump right over to the Sun Belt, which we kind of laughed about last night that they were, 12, 13, 11, 14 games, but we actually ended up with 2 pretty good games here.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not. Beginning, I guess, Dorman, with the Louisiana Monroe Coastal Carolina game where Louisiana Monroe was down big in the first half. They came back and actually took a lead in the second half before Coastal found a way to win the game.
Yep, it was back and forth, and this is why championship week is great because, like we, were laughing last night with the seeds, and it was the first night in Pensacola, but it was a terrific game. And like you said, Coastal Carolina looked like they were going to go down for a while. Monroe made some runs. Coastal came back and back and forth the whole way. It was really a great basketball. Coastal Carolina comes out by 4, and they're going to get the Raging Cajuns next Thursday in Pensacola.
A little bit news on that. Louisiana is is his 4th leading scorer, but he's averaging 10 points a game. His last name is Folks. He's out. He's out to not even make the trip with the team. So Louisiana a little bit shorthanded, a little less depth for this game against Coastal. And Coastal, Jacob Meyer, freshman, 32 points at tonight's game. If he keeps playing like that, they can pull another upset, I think, in this tournament.
Yeah, especially against a shorthanded Louisiana. This is still a good Raging Cajun team.
It is. And they've got they have 4 guys who are averaging double figures. This is their 4th guy.
Yeah.
That's out. But Stalika, the late game, our second overtime game of championship week, second overtime game of the night, Texas State and Old Dominion.
I think what's funny here is if you're watching the end of this game in regulation, we're probably all on the call beforehand. We're like, why is he taking a half-court shot with about 5 seconds left?
As were the announcers saying the same thing, because they were broadcasting from the studio.
Yeah,
and they were totally out of sync, and they didn't realize that he had taken the shot like right after the buzzer, and this would have been beyond half court had Old Dominion managed to get it off beforehand, but alas, it just took the wind out of their sails, and Texas State ended up cruising in overtime.
Yeah,
it was bizarre looking.
Old Dominion was out early in this game. It wasn't until about halfway through the second half that Texas State turned it on and got back in this game even. But the Bobcats do move on. If you remember, Texas State was the 11th seed last year in this tournament, made it all the way to the semifinals. So see if they can pull another upset against Southern Miss in their next game.
Yeah, Southern was kind of disappointing, at least in my mind. They were the preseason pick. They've been good at times. I mean, they were one of the teams, I believe, that knocked off App State. So they're capable of playing well, but they haven't always. The next time they don't play well, it could in their season.
Well, they were one of 2 teams that knocked off James Madison and knocked them off from the ranks of the unbeaten back in
I stand corrected. Yeah, it was JMU. That's what I meant to say. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Stalika.
Well, that concludes all of today's games. We're going to go to a preview of tomorrow's games. Starting with, it is quarterfinal round day in our favorite conference, Northeast Conference Day. Get those multiple screens out again. All 4 games start at 7 o'clock Eastern.
Yes, and you need to download NEC Front Row. It's a free download. It is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Let's ask about these 4 games here tomorrow, first of all. Sleek, let me start with you. Do you see any seeding upsets?
If we're looking as far as seeding upsets, I wonder about a team like Wagner potentially pulling it off. Sacred Heart was a team I think we had high hopes for during the preseason, but never really seemed to get their motors running. But I think there's also the potential mother of upsets, and that's STFU against Central Connecticut, because the Red Flash always seem to manage to turn it on for conference tournament time.
I think Dorman, I kind of think Fairleigh Dickinson is the team to look at to pull off the first round upset tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm with Stalika and you. I think Wagner's live as can be, and I agree. That should be a very, very competitive game. I could see that going right down to the last seconds. And I wanted to say Merrimack and Central Connecticut State were going to be have no problem. But after what I've seen tonight, I think everyone's going to have a problem, because closing games in these tournaments and in championship week is very difficult. The pressure is also on the favorites a lot of these times. So I agree with you. I think the 2 underdogs, Wagner and Fairleigh Dickinson, are live tomorrow.
All right. Let's go through each of you. Who do you think is going to win the conference tournament? Griggs?
I'm going with Merrimack. I think they'll have to do it at Central Connecticut, because I think it's going to be kind of chalky being at campus sites all the way through, with the exception of Fairleigh Dickinson, who I think wins tomorrow. But I think Merrimack gets it done.
Stalika?
I don't want to go with our colleague Zach and get on the Central Connecticut bandwagon just yet, but I think Merrimack is going to be, very hungry to get back into, not back, but get into the NCAA tournament after being denied last year as a transitional team.
And they would leave the Northeast Conference having gone undefeated in the NEC tournament in 2 seasons playing in it if they do that, by the way, on the way out after this year. Dorman?
We're all going down together. I'm on Merrimack.
I'm going to break from all of you. I do not agree with Stalika about Wagner. I am going Sacred Heart to win this event.
They got to do 2 on the road.
They got to do 1 on the road. I think one of these top 2 seeds gets upset somewhere along the way. They may have to go to Merrimack and win, and then get a home championship game against a Fairleigh Dickinson, something like that.
Now, before we move on, I would like to congratulate Lemoyne for at least being able to host a first round game in their first year of Division I play.
Yes,
very cool.
Congratulations to those Syracuse Dolphins. We're going to figure that one out one of these days. Ohio Valley Conference first round day tomorrow. The latter format here: Tennessee State versus Southern Indiana, and SAU Edwardsville against Eastern Illinois. Griggs, what do you think about these 2 games? Either one of them you see an upset in?
No. Tennessee State is talented. They don't always play up to their ceiling, but I think that they will tomorrow. Although
they're going to
Southern
crush
Indiana,
they're going to crush them. I'm sorry, they're going to crush them.
Yeah, they'll have a contingent of fans there, and I hope that they enjoy it for however shortly it lasts. And I just think Edwardsville and Eastern, they're next to each other in the standings, but they are miles apart. I think Edwardsville rolls.
Dorman, what do you think about this entire event? Who do you think wins it?
I'm going with Morehead State. I think they caught a bad break. They had the same record as the other teams that got the bye to the semifinals, so there'll be an extra game for Morehead State. But I think they're the most talented team. I think they have the best coach in this tournament. And although they've had injuries through the year, I think they'll regroup. I think they'll play great. I think almost getting the game under their belts Thursday will help them, at least through the first half against Martin on Friday. I like Morehead State.
Yeah, I'm going to take Little Rock. The reason I'm taking Little Rock is because of the easier path. Now, Western Illinois is not a cakewalk at all in the semifinals, but I think UT Martin and Morehead State could beat each other up so much in their semifinal that Little Rock steals it in the championship game. Stalika?
I would remind you that Moorhead had the easy path last year and couldn't even get into the championship game. So even though they're going to be a little shorthanded, I'm with Storm, and I do think the Eagles are going to avenge last year and end up winning the OVC tournament.
And Griggs.
I'm going to go with Martin simply because I think that they're probably the most talented team. And while they were they had their disappointing moments throughout the year, they looked really good down the stretch. I think it's chalk all the way through. Higher seeds winning every single game with Martin beating Little Rock in the final.
Okay. One more conference kicks off tomorrow. This is a big one tomorrow. It is 8-9 day in the Big South tournament.
Sir.
Radford, amazingly, Radford and South Carolina Upstate in the 8-9 game. Winner is going to get another day off while the women play their quarterfinals on Thursday. But real quick, any thoughts at all on this game, Dorman?
I like Radford. I think they'll get it done. I think they're the better team.
I think they are. I think they kind of fell apart late, which put them in the 9 seed. They really could have been a lot higher in this tournament. And let me stick with you. Who wins this entire event?
I'm going to go with, I believe they've never been to the tournament. Stalika will tell me if I'm wrong. I'm going with High Point. I think they finally dance. Stalika, they've never been there, have they?
I cannot recall High Point making it. In fact, I would say if they're highlighted in, I think, red in Chad's workbook, it would indicate that they have not gone since they've been in D1.
Yeah, we can double check on that. Point. Yeah, but I understand.
But they'll have plenty. Sorry, Chad.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I don't believe they've gone, but go ahead.
They'll have plenty of competition. This will not be easy. I see them playing Winthrop on Saturday in the semis. Really tough game. I think Winthrop underperformed all year. They'll be ready. And I also think Asheville, who I liked all year and just didn't perform like they should have in their biggest games in this conference, I think they'll be in the finals.
We'll talk about it more Thursday. We're previewing the quarterfinals, but it is looming there in the quarterfinal round. Winthrop and Longwood. You know what that is. It is one of our
work
favorite.
Early on Friday.
It's the Winwood Cup in the quarterfinals of the Big South tournament. We'll get to that Thursday night. Sleeka, who do you like to win the event?
I'm actually going to go with Asheville in this one here. I think High Point, they've been the most consistent, but I think they've had enough hiccups that I would not completely trust them here.
I'm going to go Gardner-Webb. Griggs, how about you?
No, you're not, because
you're going to go Gardner-Webb. no, I'm going to go High Point then to take it. Okay.
Well, my thoughts on the game tomorrow is if those two were to form an all-star team amongst the two of them, they might be able to stay within 15 of High Point in the quarterfinal game.
Let's get to our survival board. That's all the games for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get this up here. Okay. This was our survival board heading into the day today. First of all, Griggs, what is our NCAA tournament survival board? It's up there, besides being a button up there on the website.
Well, it is a button up there on the website, but more than anything, it is a tool for the NCAA selection committee. We do this for them. Like, they don't know what they've got a lot on their mind. It's a really confusing, complicated process. It's supposed to assist them. It outlines everybody that is still playing and that can still win the national championship and what their status is.
Right. And I'll tell you what, let's do the update first, and then we'll take a look at what happened today. But first of all, as a result of today's game, there were 331 teams heading into today that had a shot to win the national championship still.
Yeah.
One
of those was Detroit.
As a result of today's games, we lost 321 teams.
Yeah.
Didn't have that really quite lined up properly.
Wow.
Yeah, we lost 10
Yeah, I guess it was.
Today.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, we couldn't lose Queens because they were already out as being ineligible.
Yep. But let's take a look here. When you look down, you see, in addition to seeing the list of teams that still have a shot to win it all, you see them in various different color codings. This is a service we do for the NCAA Selection Committee to help them with their process next week.
To help them, yes, to help them.
So, Griggs, if you see a team highlighted in blue, like Illinois is on the screen there, what does that mean?
It's a signal to the committee that they must select them.
Must select them.
Must select them, yes.
What if you see, we just mentioned Detroit Mercy. They're now in red and crossed off. If the committee is wondering, should we take Detroit Mercy, what's this tell them?
Well, it tells them that they cannot. Not only it's not if they're crossed out, it's not a recommendation. It's a command. They will not take Detroit.
Well, how
They
about
look
team
good
like
tonight, though.
Yeah.
how about Youngstown State, Penguin Fever in the Horizon League there also? They're just in regular type. That means that they can give them an at-large bid, right?
Not in at large, not in at large, but they can select them if they win the auto bid.
Okay. So they can still look
Yeah.
at them if they win an auto bid. Let's scroll
Yeah.
all the way down to the SEC here. What if the committee is sitting there and thinking about, well, let's go to the Sun Belt. What if they're thinking about James Madison for an at-large bid?
Well, that is something that
because they're in
I mean,
green.
they're going to look to this board for the answer, and they're going to wish it was blue, or they're going to wish it was crossed out, because again, this helps them so much. But if a team is in green, it means they have to decide.
So we're not doing all the work, just most
We're
of
not
the work.
doing, yeah, just most of, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's 363 teams. We're taking care of probably 340 of them for them.
What else we got left? How about our, ooh, here we go. Top 10 things to see at college basketball games.
Yes.
This has been very, very popular here. We had intense voting.
Yeah.
We've already gone through a couple of them. We saw a couple nights ago an honorable mention. There's 14, so we have a few honorable mentions. Go to the Hornets Nest Trophy.
The Hornets Nest Trophy.
Yeah. We saw an honorable mention go last night to the Kennesaw Banana.
Yeah, you want to see him. He's a member of the board of trustees. We learned that today. Yeah, worked in the president's office. The governor put him on the board.
We're still not quite up to our top 10 yet. We have a couple more honorable mentions. Let's do another honorable mention right now, though. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds
great.
I loved it. This is what do we got tonight? What do we got tonight?
Keggy the Keg.
Keggy the Keg from Dartmouth. Oh wow! What are the best things you can see at a college basketball game? Oh,
I think you got some facts about him too, don't you?
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of the things. Like we're not just we're previewing but we want to just show you more than just the teams on the list. We want to tell you a few things about them. So here's some things about Keggy the Keg. We do not know his exact birth date. Like it's undecipherable, but we do know that he was one of the founders of Dartmouth College in 1769. Dartmouth, older than the Union. Keggy, one of the founders. Someone named Eleazar Wheelock, if I'm even saying that right, tried to take all the credit for the school, but Keggy was one of the founders. When Nelson Rockefeller was a student at Dartmouth, he and Keggy routinely got into barroom brawls with one another, not friends. Keggy and Rockefeller. And then in 1958, the last time Dartmouth won an NCAA tournament game, I believe, Keggy was so drunk that he stormed the football field.
For a basketball game.
For a basketball game, yes.
Okay, that's about right up in the alley for Keggy the Keg.
Yeah, but you want to go see Keggy. I one of the best mascots ever.
All right. On that note, let's pull this out here and go to the other final thoughts from each of you. Sleeka, let you start it off.
Well, I guess a couple things here. Number one, I guess that would make Keggy the first Union mascot, given the development happened at Dartmouth today. But number two,
Dartmouth
I actually want
players voting to unionize after going 5-22. The irony there. They might not want to consider themselves employees that could be fired. Sorry, Stalika, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually want to go to the city of Dayton right here. I believe this is a chance where, while the two teams in Cincinnati could both be NIT bound, there is a chance we probably could see both the Flyers and Wright State potentially make the NCAA, depending on what happens in the Horizon League tournament. But first, they have a huge game against Northern Kentucky on Thursday. Will they be able to get the 3-game sweep?
I don't think they will, honestly, but we can talk about that tomorrow night. Dorman.
Yes, I was remiss to not mention this last night. Yesterday was 34 years ago that the great Hank Gathers collapsed on the basketball court during a game. And he was a phenomenal basketball player. He played at Loyola Marymount. And Bo Kimball was one of his teammates. And this tournament, a few weeks after he had passed, was one of the greatest I ever can recall growing up. Kimball was shooting left-handed free throws. Hank Gathers was a lefty, in memory of him, to the first free throw of the game, and he kept hitting them, and this team kept winning. And it was emotional. It was incredible basketball, and just a terrible, terrible situation and story because he was, from what I understand, a wonderful, wonderful young man and a phenomenal basketball player. Lost way too soon.
He was. I still remember that night. It was, wow, I can't believe it was 34 years ago, but yeah, it was a, and if you don't know too much about the story, I know that I think ESPN did a 30 for 30 on it. You should definitely go watch that. It's an incredible story. But
That would be the
Griggs,
guru of Go if you're talking about that
Yes.
30 for 30.
thank you.
And
Griggs, let me circle around to you here and let you finish off the show for the night.
okay, first to follow up on Dorman's point, I still think that the NCAA as part of initial eligibility should require all student athletes, but basketball players in particular, to have a heart exam. It makes me insane that they don't. Anyway, but my final thought was more or less a general one. I know that a lot of the games tonight were opening round games in lower conferences and involved teams that weren't even expected to win those leagues, minus the ASUN. But I mean, even with that, a lot of teams really, they're just playing for the right to play another day, and that alone makes these games exciting. I mean, if you couldn't get, if you couldn't get into the Sun Belt or the ASUN tonight, then I don't know what to tell you. I think it's just as awesome some ways as the Elite Eight. Some of these early round games in championship week.
I agree with you.
I'm with you.
This was just a flat out fun night, especially
Yeah.
the Sun Belt, which surprises as being fun, and the ASUN, which we were hoping would be fun. I don't know we
Yeah.
thought it'd be as great as it would. I'm really hoping we get similar stuff from the Northeast tomorrow night. Not really expecting as much from the OVC or the Big South. I think it's our last really light night of games tomorrow. Then things really start picking up when we get to Thursday and Friday. But we will be back. Actually, we're doing 2 podcasts tomorrow night. We're going to be doing a bracket rundown show earlier in the evening. And then after all the conference tournament games are, we'll be back with another video notebook tomorrow night. I know we normally do our bracket rundowns on Thursday. Moved it up a day this week. But on that note, on behalf of David Dorman, David Griggs, John Stalika, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again tomorrow night.